tell us 3 words that you would use to describe your entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Birmingham.
Hungry.
Evolving.
Thinking burgeoning.
I would say passionate.
I would say we are fragmented.
Community.
Resilient.
A little lost.
Challenging.
We have potential.
It's blossoming.
Eager.
Exciting.
History.
And connecting.
We believe that anyone, anywhere can make startups. After spending more than a decade building our own company, we've learned a ton. We've mentored founders and built startup communities. We've helped craft government policies, and we've also invested in businesses. Some that succeeded and some that didn't. We've helped thousands of startup founders, funders, and facilitators. We're inspired by their dreams and determination. Our goal is to travel across America and meet as many as we can, tell their story, and share their lessons. We're on a mission to help you succeed, to show you that you aren't crazy, you aren't alone, you really can do this. We're here to make startups together.
So my name is Naila Jackson. I am Naila, last name Jackson, spelled as a suit, Jackson. And I work for the Birmingham Business Alliance. And I am Director of Network Navigator. And what that means is I work with specifically ecosystem resource providers as well as business owners in the ideation phase, the startup phase, sustaining phase, scale phase, kind of helping them understand where they are and what resources they need.
Got it. What do you think is the most challenging part for founders in Birmingham today?
I think the most challenging part is funding.
Yeah.
Access to capital.
And from my understanding, you've got a lot of stuff happening in the real early stages of business, and you've got some happening once they really hit high growth. Where do you see your major gaps in funding availability for startups?
So I see my major gaps in the startup phase. And I see some major gaps in that weird gray area of the mid phase. Like once you've gotten started and the wheels are turning and you've got, motion, now what? They really don't have a place to turn for that. As far as startups, some of them, are using their own funding. They work a 9 to 5 and they're trying to build this business at night or on the weekend or whatever the case may be. And they may hit a hump. And I can speak specifically to a business owner who is at that place, and we're all trying to rally around them and help them get funding to finish these last few things that he needs. He's opening a restaurant. He has put all of his money in there, his 401k, anything that he had.
Wow.
And he's about $15,000 short of finishing it up. And it's like, okay, so who can help him?
Yeah.
And with it being a startup restaurant, it's like, oh, there are these parameters and these parameters. So we're working on, figuring out like how do we level the playing field for situations like that.
So why did you choose this work?
Oh, wow. So the specific work that I do now, I was actually doing with another nonprofit before I even knew this job was available. And I did it part-time.
Okay.
So I was working for an amazing company. And I just finished my yearly review, and I walked out of the office and I had an email from this organization, and I read the job description and I was like, I would love to do that. Like I just want to, and I love to help people. Right. I love being a resource. I love learning people's stories, like what motivates them. And so I went in and I told my boss, I got an opportunity, and he was aware of the work that I was doing prior to that. And he said, well, go for it. So I did. And when I got this job, it has really challenged me. I'll say that. But it has allowed me, again, to learn those stories, those things that motivate them to keep going, and specifically with the legacy businesses, what sustained you? in a time where you absolutely everything that could work against you was working against you.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that inspire me to do this work, to continue helping those people live out those dreams, create generational wealth for their children and their families, and seeing people actually feel fulfilled. They were put here, or that they feel like they were put here on this earth to do.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually able to see that and live that out on a day-to-day basis.
I think one of the things that's unique from what we've seen so far in our tour is I don't think we've come across a community that has a network navigator. And so what do you think is the key to this role, and how someone can succeed, and why communities should have this person?
So it's almost like this is I'm a virtual hub, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm the one place that everybody can start at and just venture out. Even if it's a resource provider and they're asking, do you know whether anybody's doing this, and this,
Mm-hmm.
or we're looking for somebody, I can actually reconnect them with someone else
Yeah.
that they can help capacity build for their organizations. Because let's be honest, most nonprofits that do the work that we do are very small.
Mm-hmm.
Their staffs are small. So we have to utilize each other to build capacity.
Yeah.
So allowing them to not get bogged down with those daily phone calls of small questions, they can redirect them to me,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not just digital, I'm human.
Mm-hmm.
So I have meetings where I give a checklist to the business owner, and we go through the checklist. And if there's something on that list that they don't understand that they need, we talk through that so that they understand. Once they've gotten all those things ready, then we can talk about what cohort might be good for them. So I'm kind of the precursor to them going out into the community and, searching for things. I'm the one place that everybody can just say, you can call the network navigator, or you can pull up the network navigator and get the information that
That's
you
I
need.
mean, like you and I can attest, in a week or two, you pulled together a room of movers and shakers for us to talk to.
I
So,
tried my best.
Yeah,
So
I was
hope you guys
impressed. We asked in the round table, but the other one is just sort of thinking, if you could wave magic wand and you had, let's say $1 million to invest in your ecosystem right now, how would you use that? And then expanding on that, I think 5 years down the road, and you continue to have this magic wand, tell us what Birmingham looks like.
So, what Birmingham looks like to me is a thriving, multiple thriving districts of
Okay.
small businesses, right? Multiple opportunities where there are spaces where, let's just say it's a food hall, having multiple food halls where entrepreneurs have the opportunity to try it. And they rotate in and out just to see if their ideas work. So having more opportunities where, and not even just food, anywhere that someone can go and it's a short-term lease and they're able to try out their ideas. We have one or two of those places, but I like to see multiple places in different districts because Birmingham is a big city.
Okay.
More funding that helps people get started. We have lots of people that have great ideas, but they don't have the funds to get started.
Mm-hmm.
Creating a fund for that with some of that money. And also building out the hub and spoke model that we're currently working on. So I'm waving my magic wand about that, but we haven't exactly heard back from the federal government that we got it. But that is something that I think would be absolutely amazing, that in these different cities, they have a place to go and they're not all having to search and run around in a circle to try to find places to go. And yeah, a lot of it would just be funding to help them kind of get over the humps. Having opportunities for them to apply for payroll assistance, or
It's amazing how so many times it's just finding a way to get more money in the hands of entrepreneurs is really all we need, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
it is. It's the key to a lot.
Yeah.
But educating them on how to properly use those funds is very important, because it's easy to say they need money. But I know an issue that we had that I thought was really big was a lot of our cohorts provide stipends at the end, right? And a lot of our small business owners were cohort hopping and collecting stipends. And those were not, helping them build capacity or anything. It was to keep the lights on or to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And so what is it that's not happening?
Well, if I think about it another way, to me, the biggest barriers to access to capital is the belief from the people who would provide the capital that they'll be able to make more capital by
Absolutely.
deploying it. So
Absolutely.
are there any great examples that you can share that can help somebody understand the economic opportunity of investing?
The entrepreneur that you're going to visit, Naughty with Nice Popcorn, is a wonderful example of that. I think it has allowed her to do some things like bring in interns.
Mhm.
Just investing has allowed her to create programs that allow interns,
Okay.
that are allowing her to build that program out to, I think she's also creating a nonprofit that goes along with that. So I think that if we understood that it would bring job creation, it
Mhm.
would help with capacity building, it would help them be more efficient and more effective, more so than just thinking that, I'm not helping you pay your bills. I mean, this was your choice.
Yeah.
And that's
You wanted to start
literally the
this
point of
business.
investment, right?
Right.
It's to help you pay your bills so that you can make
Exactly.
money and we can all make money.
Exactly. And so, I mean, I got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So, changing the mindset of people who are investing to understand that all of that is a part of investment. All of that, they need to pay their bills, they need to pay their people, they need products,
Yeah.
they need supplies. So those are the things, yes, it was my idea, but can you help me?
Yeah.
So
I mean, financial literacy is such a big thing. That's why when I said at the end of our last session, I was talking to a few of the people that are on the table about banks and just who are your bank managers and how do you have those conversations with them? Because a lot of times, they're if there's not discretionary funds, there's low interest loans that people just don't know about.
right.
And so there's the access to capital is kind of there. It's just a pain in the ass to get to.
Yes.
And so how do you mitigate that? And again, it's having people at the table, it's having the conversations, it's
Absolutely.
having the trust factor
Right.
on both ends,
Right.
banker and entrepreneur.
Right.
So that seems to be like, a sliver of a solution.
Mhm.
What does that look like? And,
Yeah.
and we see it again in our town as well as others.
So my last question is, Birmingham has the name Magic City.
Mhm.
What makes it the Magic City today?
You can do and be anything you want to be. If you have an idea, if you have a concept, if you bring it here, we are going to support you. Birmingham supports Birmingham.
That's
And
great.
that is what is magical about our city.
So I'm Tanisha Sim Summers. I'm the proud co-founder and CEO of Naughty But Nice Kettle Corn Company. We're based here in Birmingham
Okay.
and established in 2014. And we exist to make the world a sweeter place.
What does success look like for you in 5 years?
Wow. Success means being able to pay every debt that we owe very comfortably with where we're cash flowing.
Right.
We're
That's fair.
able to consistently pay team members that we can truly invest in and develop them. So leadership programs and things that will help them to evolve
Okay.
professionally and personally. Really, we don't want any debt.
That's
Honestly,
fair.
I
That's
would
fair.
love to grow as debt free as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that looks like having more corporate investment, right?
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I know when we think about capital for businesses, we want to spend so much time thinking about what are the loan products and vehicles. But the conversation really should stem around how are corporations being responsible with their dollars and being intentional
Yeah.
with supporting and investing in small businesses.
Right.
We've had companies who've spent $20,000 at one time.
Yeah.
If that could happen consistently, I won't really need as many loans. And I know that's not great for the lending space because that
Yeah.
is kind of the product of how
their
our
business. Yeah.
ecosystem
Yeah.
works
Today.
right? But you want people getting in situations where they can responsibly take on debt.
Yeah.
They really understand their debt ratios, and you don't want to get into debt that can't be serviced because your local community or
Yeah.
your regional or national community is not supporting.
Right.
And so it can't be a fad during Black History Month. It can't be a fad during
Right.
Juneteenth.
Right.
It
right.
has to be something that you're consistently thinking about. how we can support and grow the small business ecosystem.
Yeah.
Go.
If anybody happens to see this, how can they become a pophead?
Yes.
Tell us, how can people buy your, how can our audience buy your product?
So
Tell
if
us.
you are ready to jump on the pophead bandwagon, like these two did, all right?
I'm a pophead.
Just from just a few kernels,
That's
your
right.
life will change forever. You can find us at www.nbnkettlecorn.com. If you are local, we are at 5831 First Avenue North in the heart of Woodlawn. And of course, we have Miss Poppy popping around, so she can be catered for special events or special community events. And you can see our event schedule on our website. And so, yeah, we want people to join join the Pophead Nation if you are truly and genuinely looking to make the world a sweeter place.
So our organization comes alongside and helps start up business as well as helping them scale for entrepreneurs, and we provide business coaching, but also we really hang a hat on providing emotional wellness and mental health services to assist them with just not just making a profit, but managing the pressure. And so we've been working in that space.
And we are an economic development agency born out of our civic, government, and corporate leaders coming together to decide that we need a more thriving economy here in Birmingham. So we are doing that through job creation, preparation, and access strategies.
What do you think is the best part about being an entrepreneur in Birmingham, and what do you think is the most challenging thing for an entrepreneur in Birmingham?
You work directly with them. I mean, I can speak high level.
I think one of the most exciting components of being an entrepreneur is Birmingham is a vibrant city. It creates a lot of opportunity, and there's so many different pathways entrepreneurs can take. And so it's really been exciting. It's a real entrepreneurial region. I think one of the challenges is the back end, the infrastructure of the knowledge of how to not just produce a product, but how to manage the business. You know, the back end support, the automations, the workflows, and those kind of things create challenges. So many times they're great at producing a product, but not having the back end support of how to really scale.
And I'd say community. Birmingham is very community based. We're very supportive of each other.
Mm-hmm.
We come together in hard times and good to celebrate or to, cry on each other's shoulders. So there's a thriving community base here, like for whatever your interests are. We have, outdoorsy kind of things. We have beautiful weather and atmosphere, but then the people here are very welcoming and supportive as well. But then what's challenging, and we hear it all the time, access to capital.
Sure.
That's the most challenging thing is how do I get enough resources up front to start the business and to keep it going as you figure out your revenue streams.
Yeah, and what does the investment capital ecosystem here look like for entrepreneurs?
Deficient.
That's fair. That's fair.
Right.
You can say that.
There's a lot of support for startup companies in the micro loan space. We do have we have ACDFI that is here. We have a few that also do business here, but not enough for the 10xing of businesses that we're trying to do. So we're trying to create a more entrepreneurial culture here and a space where folks understand that they can come and get what they need, but it's a little deficient in terms of what's currently available. And especially, we hadn't talked about this a whole lot, but scaling, but beyond a certain stage. So once you hit like larger than a $3 million loan that you need, you may have to go outside of market to find that because there's not a whole lot of big dollar
gap in the big institutional finance space.
So we find that, we hemorrhage a lot of folks who hit it big and are ready to, do their exports.
So do they end up leaving the business and everything because of
Or they leave Birmingham?
They leave the market.
Birmingham.
Okay.
Right, they leave Birmingham to headquarter, and the Atlantas and the Dallases and other areas that already have that infrastructure built.
One of the things that I'm really impressed with is the work that your organization's doing in the mental health space. I think it's something that we we all see when we're supporting startups, and frankly, I think some of us get overwhelmed not realizing that's a huge part of what we're signing up for. And what advice would you give to entrepreneur support organizations around the country?
I definitely think it's a component that should be a portion of every startup, every accelerator, because one of the things that happens is, as an entrepreneur moving into that space, I say this all the time, there's a totally different perspective when you sign the front of the check or the back of the check. And so there's pressure that comes along that, again, you have not had to worry about payroll. You have a full-time job. You're not worried about, supply and labor. So when you actually have to have the pressure of that, simply things like coping skills, how do you handle disappointment, time management skills, because as an entrepreneur, you don't have a boss, you're your own boss. And so you can tell yourself, I'm going in late today, and so just those components of time management, coping skills, as well as what we talked about earlier, just having access to those wraparound services. Because as an entrepreneur, I may not have the same quality of insurance that I had when I worked at UAB. So I can't see my provider, or I can't, I have to pay full price for those prescriptions. So we've been able to come alongside and provide free or discounted services, as well as stipends for prescriptions, and free counseling service. So
is that essentially grant funded on your side?
Yes.
Okay. What type of partnerships did it take to pull that level of support off?
The city of Birmingham was a huge partner in doing that, through the Bold grant.
Okay.
Birmingham really, through the Bold grant, has really made some intentional efforts to infuse capital and support into the entrepreneurial space. So that's been a huge portion.
So I'm Patrick Packer. I'm the CEO and president of Datus Henry Industries, and Datus Henry CBD is a part of our company.
And I'm Christopher Packer.
Okay.
And of course, once again, this is our brick and mortar for Datus Henry.
Holistically, the organizations that have supported you guys, what other kind of support could you want to have in relation to, like you said, whether it's mentorship or access to capital, whether it's, helping you with low interest loans, or maybe better, lease agreements and things like that. Where do you see the work that people like Courtney does supporting?
That's a very good question.
Okay.
And we have these ongoing conversations with Urban Impact about the district.
Yeah.
We have to have more foot traffic in the district. You cannot have a brick and mortar store, right, with no foot traffic. You're then just a glorified online retailer, right?
With an expensive
address.
Yes.
And so how do you increase the foot traffic in a historic business district that has had challenges because of, particularly in the city of Birmingham, the issue of race? And so this whole area was a disadvantaged area because of systemic racism, right? So how do we get organizations to develop strategies and marketing strategies and campaigns that actually bring people back to this area?
Yeah.
How do you work with organizations that deal with the homeless? How do you deal with organizations that deal with people that happen to be addicted to alcohol and drugs? And mental illness.
And I also look at it and say, how do you balance sort of that redevelopment and getting more people here with the risks of gentrification along the way?
Along the way. Because what happens is, we know that there is a systemic model that exists where some commercial industries, real estate, let's say, depress the property values, right? By using lots of different techniques.
Yeah.
And then they come in, they swoop in, they buy the property at a low rate. Then they remove all of those barriers that if they had just removed those barriers initially, then the property owners could have kept their property and, renovated their properties and reinvested and kept the business community.
Yeah.
So how do we encourage these nonprofits that are supposed to help startups
Right.
understand that there's a reason why, the foot traffic is not there, and address those reasons
Yeah.
rather than assume that the startups are the reason, that there is a problem with drawing people to the district.
Right.
Or to any particular district, whether it's a Black business district or it's a Hispanic business district,
Right.
or an underdeveloped neighborhood district.
Well, I think at the start, if you could just tell us a little bit about what your organization does to support the startup ecosystem here in Birmingham.
Well, we are the city, so we serve as sort of the infrastructure for small businesses, right? I specifically serve in the Office of Business Diversity and Opportunity, which Mayor Woodfin created in 2018. We serve all small businesses, but we have a focus on on the disparities that really impact Black small businesses and women-owned small businesses. So, we when ARPA came, when the ARPA funds were released, we did several loan funds to disseminate those funds out to those small businesses to give them that lifeline. We work with our ecosystem partners. We convene with all of them. So that's how we are able to get technical assistance and even and access to capital as well. We don't provide it because we cannot directly give funds to the citizens, right? So that's how we service our small businesses, and I would say that's our role as a convener or intermediary within the small business ecosystem here in Birmingham.
And for us, in alignment with Prosper, our accelerator funds and accelerates uncommon teams. So we're looking at BIPOC and women founders. And what we're trying to do is bringing them to Birmingham, one, because our population needs the services of digital health solutions, because we're aimed at breaking down the equitability, accessibility, and the patient-centered health systems, and just being able to aid these providers and payers so that they're better able to engage with their communities. And so for us, we're bringing people here to Birmingham to see what we have to offer, not just from a technical standpoint, but from a community standpoint as well. And then we're also waking up our network to say, hey, tech is alive in Birmingham, and the way we support tech does not have to be just a transactional financial exchange. It can be with introductions, it could be beta testing, and it can be helping folks acclimate to our city so that they move here because of the Birmingham experience that we have.
Okay, sounds great.
So what do you think are the biggest strengths of Birmingham's startup ecosystem?
The biggest strengths.
The biggest strengths are definitely our network. We love to make introductions. We love to know who's doing what and be able to help those individuals. Another strength I think we have is we do have places for these individuals to go with their companies. So entities like Innovation Depot, Make Birmingham for the creatives. We also have obviously the BBA for their initiatives, and Prosper for the initiatives for small businesses, looking at BIPOC businesses specifically.
Okay. Well, we are innovative with how we support small businesses, in the fact that we have created a fund, which is called RISE, our RISE fund, and that stands for Retention Incentives for Success and Expansion. So they either can get a forgivable loan, or they can get a one-time amount, and they have to create so many jobs with receiving these particular funds, and it's to keep the small businesses here, right? For Shipt or for AT&T, they get millions of dollars in incentives, but hardly ever are we incentivizing our small businesses, which accounts for 99% of the activity of businesses throughout the country. So I think that's something that we have done that's innovative to support small businesses on a larger scale.
Okay.
I'm really curious, why do you do this work?
I do this work with great intention. I do this work because when I grew up and went to school, I was able to have a level of access. And so I knew resources around, I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. But entrepreneurship never touched my ears. I had no idea that entrepreneurship is really such an opportunity for Black and brown individuals because it creates our own wealth, especially when we have so many systemic barriers that keep us from gaining the wealth that maybe our counterparts have. And so for me to see so many young individuals or emerging founders who are excited about, being able to provide for their families, not just in this generation, but for future generations to come, and be a part of that. That is why I do this work. And so it's a job where you don't get a lot of thanks, but when you do, it really helps you understand like this is the path that I was meant to be on.
Well, I mean, my grandparents raised me and they always taught me to help and to give back. And so that's their legacy. And I feel like I've taken that torch to pour into other people things that I may not have had. I was an entrepreneur and my target market was other entrepreneurs, right? Startups specifically. That's a hard market to serve because they don't necessarily have the money to pay for your services. And then if you're a good business owner, you have to set your prices to make money to cover your costs and to live. And so I found myself oftentimes bartering services with them or not making enough or being put in a crazy situation. So I have a planning background, right? And so this particular opportunity came to me to work for the city of Birmingham in economic development, serving and supporting small businesses. And so what I used to provide services for on my own, now I'm able to be in a stable situation and give back and provide. So it's my passion. I love seeing other people succeed and doing well. I really feel like we can create an inclusive and equitable economy for real. Like everybody can eat.
Yeah.
I love how you hit on the real core underlying challenge in doing entrepreneur support. Or basically, how do we support every entrepreneur, regardless of their background, their means, and so forth? Because, I think there are programs that exist if you're, the rapid growing tech company that someone can put money in and take the equity in your company. But when you're maybe more of a needs-based entrepreneur, and this is the best outlet that you don't have the money to
pay for marketing services,
pay for services of any kind. And there's organizations that were doing the same work as you all across the country. And if you could wave that magic wand, like what change would you make so that work was easier?
Woo, child, that's a heavy one.
I don't like.
I guess getting to the core or the understanding of what folks need in order to be successful, right? And needs are different. I think systematically and fundamentally, we don't keep that in mind. What a big business needs is not necessarily what a small business needs, what a Main Street business needs. And you just said this, what a Main Street business needs might not be what a Silicon Valley business would need. So I really feel like that the one would take into account where that person is and understanding their customer. It goes to the fundamentals of marketing, understanding your target, understanding the customer. And even when you are service oriented or you're a service provider, if you don't have a good foundation set, you cannot give them what they need. So my magic, the thing that I feel like the magic solution is really being able to understand people where they are in order to meet their needs. I don't see enough of that because I got $1 million to give and I got to get these $1 million out. And I hate when folks will give out funding to people that they don't even have a business banking account, or they don't understand what a P&L statement is. So why would you give that grant to them without giving them the services to help them be successful? I'm not saying don't give it to them, but equip them before you handicap them with just giving them an influx of money.
So I have one other, and this is an impromptu question, and feel free to tell me no.
No.
But I kind of want to try to hit at like probably a lot of the real issue underneath everything. I'm sure there are people that either intentionally or unintentionally are in the way of progress. And what do you think would be helpful for them to understand to move through that?
I think there's a layer of vulnerability that folks just don't have. I think that folks feel like they have to walk into the room and be the expert and know all the things, and it's okay to not understand what's going on. It's okay to be behind and say, I have a question, because questions, in my opinion, help me understand things more versus making me feel like I don't understand the topic that we're talking about. And so those individuals, I'd love to see them just try, put in some effort to understand what they don't know right now, and see us as maybe not the experts, but the leaders in the industry, and just know to come to us for help.
Mm-hmm.